All right, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Welcome to the Harmony Community Development District's November regular meeting. We'll start this evening with a call to order and a roll call. So we'll call the roll right now. Dan Lee.
Here.
Joe. Here. Joe. Sorry.
Present.
And Teresa Kramer is here.
Dane's on the Zoom call.
Dane Short is on the Zoom call. Thank you, Dane.
Yep, happy to be here. You guys hear me all right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, the next order of business is audience comments. This is a time where anyone from the audience can join in and provide 3 minutes worth of comments, concerns. Let the board know what you're interested in and what your feelings on those subjects are. Again, this is not for a back and forth or a discussion. This is a time for you to share your concerns with the board. So what we start out with is to ask if there's anyone here who would like to address the board. And if so, you'll come up, you'll speak into the mic with your name and your address for the record. And then you'll provide us with the 3 minutes. Is there anyone here who'd like to provide any input? Yes, sir.
I have more than 3 minutes, so I'll try to hit the highlights.
Name and address, please.
Name is Joe Janizak, 7159 Oak Glen Trail. Couple quickies. Watering, you want to save money, stop watering in the middle of the day when it's 90 degrees, stop watering the streets, and stop watering when it's raining. Signs, do we really need 11 signs? Can't we just have one big sign or a medium-sized sign with a QR code where they can scan it? They got it on their phone, they can find wherever they want to go. I'm still curious. I asked 2 meetings ago, about 3 years ago, we had 600,000 in reserves. Where did it all go? The estate floodings, it doesn't affect me, but they're starting to build houses there. Your contractor's going to come back with change orders because it's going to be harder to get in to make any of those fixes. RV parking, I think you're short-sighted on that. You're going to move that trailer. That's going to cost you $200,000 to $300,000. When you factor that in, you're down to a couple $100,000 to put that road in as a permanent fix. That's only. Not whoever works or has a business downtown. That's not your responsibility. And I would hope that you would keep it that way. And I think the RV was something that was sold to me when I purchased here, that we had that in our community. Insurance rates and everything else change if you move your RV out of your community. Yeah, the other thing is that a comment was made that it shouldn't, the responsibility of for a few shouldn't be on the many. I'm paraphrasing. Yet you're going to go and redo all the alleyways. I think the majority of homeowners now do not have alleyways. So should the alleyways be burdened on the others that don't have alleyways? And I keep shaking my head at this. When this all started about the RV expansion and all that, it was $125,000 thereabout projects. 3 years goes by, now it's $500,000. I think all the options were looked at. I think that, we got a golf course access road. Did anybody talk to them? I mean, that would have shortened the road substantially if you just went around their fence. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
The 3 minute one.
Okay. That's, well, I said I hit the highlights. I got a lot more detail. That's the highlights.
Thank you.
And of course, you can reach out to any of the board members to talk to us individually.
Yes, please do. Do we have any other audience comments? Yes. ma'am.
Hi, my name is Janine Brow. This is my first meeting. I own 7144 Oakland Trail, renting 3224 Bayflower Ave. House isn't done yet. We bought property November 2020 when I drove through the community. fell in love with it. Thought it was the most amazing thing. We moved here from New Jersey. Frankly, now when I drive through the community, I'm embarrassed. Grounds look horrendous. It's just, honestly, I probably wouldn't even, if I was driving through today, looking to purchase land, Harmony, I would not. It's very disappointing. I just paid my tax bill and, you know, seeing what our community looks like now, it's really disheartening that we pay what we pay and we get. And I mean, I don't know what Cervello's doing, but I mean, branches are still down. Sorry, guys. Branches are still down from over a week ago. I mean, I get that it's a big place and they need to clean up everywhere, but I mean, it's now a week and branches are everywhere, like along Dark Sky, that pond area. Also coming down the west entrance on Five Oaks, it kind of looks like all the, you know, the conservation area has been, I don't know, like weed killer added, because now I can see like through onto Schoolhouse, their backyards. And it just, you know, you're coming into the community, driving down Five Oaks, you know, it's supposed to look pretty and it doesn't. And so, I mean, I don't really know how the whole CDD thing works because we're new here. And so it's kind of like, I'm trying to, you know, figure it out and come to the meetings and, you know, try to help Harmony. I feel like from what I read on Facebook, a lot of people are unheard and it seems very cliquey here. And I'm not sure if, you know, what I'm reading on Facebook is really completely accurate, because obviously not everybody comments, but as a newcomer coming in and reading what you read on the Harmony forum, it seems very cliquey. The other thing I noticed with the agenda today, the lawyer that we're paying so much money for, in his findings, he wrote pubic streets instead of public streets. I mean, it doesn't.
No one has. Can anybody hear anything?
Their internet's down, so I think they're trying to get it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good. I didn't know if it was. I'm on an airplane right now, just landing.
Yeah, I thought it was just us.
Must be having pubic problems. Is somebody able to get a hold of them to let them know that we're waiting? Do they even know that we're sitting here?
Yes, they do.
Okay, awesome.
I let 2 people at the meeting know.
Okay, appreciate it.
You bet. I want to know what's going on too.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I can't be there tonight because I'm sick, but I should.
I can't be there because I'm sitting in an airplane right now. So
Oh, good for you attending via airplane. Have
Wow. they not let us into the room yet?
no, their audio drops. Their audio dropped. Do we not pay that bill?
I don't know.
Too soon. Sorry.
Yeah, I let the chair and the district manager know. So somebody should be doing something soon.
Have you got Dan Leake's number by any chance, Dane? Because I don't think that the chair pays much attention to her phone in the meetings.
Maybe true, but Sean is the Infomark fellow over there. I don't have Dan's number actually. If one of you do, I'm happy to.
Well, this was fun without the CDD being there.
Yeah.
Tons of fun. Well, at least I'm pulling in my gate.
They start getting taken to task and all of a sudden they're gone.
You know, I have to say, this is kind of annoying. A lot of people carved out time to attend this meeting and to be present because we're all being accused of not being present. And now we can't even make a connection to this meeting and we're just sitting and waiting. So maybe they could turn it off and turn it back on. That's what I tell my virtual students to do.
You good, Dan?
I think so. You guys hear us on the Zoom call?
Is everybody muted?
I think so. Can you get a thumbs up, Dane? You guys hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, good. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the patience. I'm sorry, Pete. Go ahead.
Pete, do you remember what, I just, you know, we've got a beautiful image, but there's no proposal to go along with it. And I wasn't sure where that proposal was, what month it was. So, I don't remember how much it was or how
Yeah,
much
I
plant
think we're
material it
gonna have to
was.
bring that
We
back.
have to table it.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
bring that back.
Okay.
When we have the numbers and then just.
5611, you said. Okay.
I think 2 CDDs ago, the last meeting, they pulled that proposal up and you guys decided to table it until the images were provided.
Okay.
So I think the mishap probably happened, but you didn't resubmit the proposal because we assumed that you still had the proposal.
Yeah. We just have to ask Infomark to include it in the next agenda. Sorry for the delay.
Second proposal on the agenda is sod at 3308 Catbrier.
We have an explanation.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the reason, did we dig this up? Was there some?
Vincent could have explained that. That was a request made from Vincent in front of that home.
Well, I found the proposal. This is 6611 for Ashley.
No, this is 7312.
It's for 3308 Catbrier.
It's out front of a home. It looks like there may have been a gas line put in there or something. I saw a marker. Well, I don't know what it was from. Did the CBD have to do some work?
No, I'm sorry.
Vicente, esa es la casa de Catbrier, 2308. Que me pediste el proposal. Ese es.
Okay. Well, this is new stuff.
From new side, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a residential home in front of the easement. Basically, the slab is in bad condition. All the space. So basically the resident asking for new sod. That's why initially we request a new proposal for sod installation and that is.
And was some work recently done there by the CDD that we damaged the
Just
sod?
a residence request.
Yeah, but was about the resident, that was before the letter about the easement. So basically, a long time ago, this area has not, so enough sod.
Okay. I don't know what the board's. I don't.
So those of us online keep getting disconnected or the CDD keeps getting disconnected. Now we don't get to talk. Great.
Yeah, it keeps going in and out from my end.
Yeah, so Dane, that's why I have my hand up. They didn't ask the Zoom attendants if they would like to speak for the public speaking. They just went straight into the agenda.
Yeah, I missed all those comments too.
Well, I don't think there were any because we got disconnected.
There were. We just never got
They
to
need to go back.
do it here.
Well, they need to go back and redo it. It should be addressed. It should have been the first thing that was addressed when we came back.
Yeah, they should have said, hey, Zoom room, is there anyone who wants to speak?
Lisa's messaging with Dan Leet. They're saying that they're going to revisit Zoom comments again, possibly.
How about just keep the Zoom on?
Well, we all carved out time. I'm kind of frustrated with the internet situation too, but I'm honestly not sure what to do about it from here. So
There's nothing we could do about it. I mean, they could be having technical issues. That might not even be on them. It's just frustrating.
And I did hear, I know we're still in the middle of Cervello at some point. I did hear that there were maybe some people that had wanted to speak during audience comments, and I guess didn't hear where we asked for people to do that. So at some point later.
Okay, maybe we can reopen it.
Yeah, we can do it right after we're done with.
We'll finish it.
So we have this 7311 to track and locate the 714 and install node for watering of new sod at Claybrook area for $722. I'll move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? This is an irrigation proposal, and I'm not sure why it's before the board because this could have been approved without coming to the board. Based on our purchasing policy, but we will go ahead and address it since it is here. This is an area that was, it had, it was on the irrigation section that the box was on Mr. Fusel's property and he blocked it. So we couldn't get to it, but they found the workaround, and this is the workaround that will correct it and get that area on clay brick here.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
I have a motion and a second. And a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 There is no opposition. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Any further questions from the board for Cervello?
With respect to, as Alfredo, right? With taking over, are there any expected changes in staffing for the Harmony contracts?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm saying it very sound, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, we look forward to that. I noticed in our invoices on the billings for irrigation, the new billing is only for irrigation work on lines greater than 2 inches, but I saw some billings there for irrigation less than 2 inches. So I don't know if there just needs to be an adjustment in your billing department or what's being submitted to them, but if you guys could take care of that. Need to do that. Also, and hopefully you can get up and running quickly, Alfredo, with new staff, with additional staff and everything. But until the point where everything is being done on a regular basis, because we can't substitute for missed work, we'll still be, withholding some of the payment for work that's not done, so that we're not paying for work.
And that's fine, but I wanted to address something
Certainly.
also is,
Come on up to the microphone.
we offered a hurricane authorization payout.
Mhm.
And you guys have refused it every year. And what this does is some communities that we have, we take care of Victoria Park and Vista Lakes and Orlando stuff, very large CDDs as well. And they put on their hurricane authorization. Some of them do it just a 5,000 NT. Okay, anything that covers under 5,000, you move everything without the property. You guys refuse to do that. Okay, we'll go in here and pick up minor branches and stuff like that. We'll do that under contract. But when you're talking about excessive debris, as in trailer loads that you got to take out of here, okay, that's the services has to come from somewhere. Okay, I have to pay for that somewhere. Okay, and what we've done with other communities where they can't afford additional expense like that, they'll say, okay, well, we've got more hurricane debris down. Let's not worry about mowing this week. Let's go ahead and pick up debris. Can we trade services like that way? Absolutely. Well, with this last hurricane here, it wasn't a significant hurricane to Harmony, but it had debris everywhere. These guys, Friday, when they came in, they were supposed to do regular mowing. Friday and Monday, 7 trailer loads of debris. We spent 7 trailer loads, so that should have been an additional expense. So I understand the board wants to hold money for stuff that we're not doing as contracted, but we're actually being asked to remove debris that's not even in contract, and we're not even being supplemented for. And that's not even including the additional dumping expense that we have to pay for, that, removing these piles. So I just want the board to take into consideration when we're asking us to do things like this. This is one of the reasons why we say do a hurricane authorization, form, smaller NT, whatever it costs, so we can send an entirely different crew down here just to remove that debris. And it doesn't stop these guys from doing what they're doing. They're getting yelled at by homeowners for picking up debris that's down, and the homeowners are under the impression that it's supposed to be on Cervello, not knowing that it's not part of your contract. So I just want the board to take things like that into consideration.
Thank you for explaining.
Yes, and our field services in the past has always taken care of the bulk of
Yes.
that. So I'm not sure why.
That didn't happen. Maybe it was a misunderstanding.
So, yeah. So we will look into that and make sure the appropriate folks are compensated.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any further discussion or questions of Sir Bella while they're here?
If the board doesn't mind, I would like for us to stay here
Yes,
while we
please.
hear the rest. of the
You're
questions.
welcome to say the whole.
Well, I've got a hard hat drive.
That hasn't been handled. Also, are this was tree trimming from our last fiscal year contract. Has that been finished or?
Now, you have some areas that still need it. They'll be back out here. I pulled them off for hurricane cleanup in Victoria. We had, I think, possibly over 40 something trees down in Victoria, a very large community. And some of them was either blocking roadways, driveways, and even on structural buildings and stuff. So we've been using the resource of Donna. We just finished that project there. So they're going to be back out here looking at some of them, because I know on Butterfly, they're going to start with the hand sawing of the smaller oaks there. That's not going to be really chainsaw. That's going to be hand saw. So make sure we don't harm oak trees on that road as well. So they'll be back out here. So anything on structural, we just have to be notified of it. I don't know. That's something that it has to go through Alfredo and Vincent to identify those areas, and we'll go ahead and get it taken care of.
Okay, this is, Alfredo, this is just in the lakeshore playground area. We have the actual shade structures with the fabric on, and they're rubbing against it.
And what I'll do is
stress going into her.
And what I'll do is when they come out here, I'll let Alfredo know that'll be one of the first areas that they hit before the children start playing.
Right. Thank you. All right, at this time, we understand that some of the folks on the Zoom call were unable to get through during the audience comments. So without objection from the rest of the board, can we open that back up? Okay. Hearing no objection, we will reopen audience comments. Anyone from the Zoom call have any comments for the board?
Please unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and try to keep your comments under 3 minutes.
Do you see anybody trying to talk, Dan?
I know I'm the last time I tried to scroll down, it disconnected me.
Oh.
It's unusual, but yeah, we can give it another minute or so, I'd say. But anyone that's on the call, you're welcome to hear your input.
Dane, could you unmute and say something so we can make sure?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, as long as like we see, we can see him moving up there, then it says we're still connected. So.
Well, at this.
You did have folks that wanted to comment. I don't know if maybe they need to raise hands or if they can unmute themselves. This is Joe Brown at QTech Rock. There were certainly some folks that said they wanted to comment and were frustrated by the connectivity issues. So if anybody can hear this, if you're looking to comment, maybe ask them to raise their hands and see if you can.
I can hear you, but I'm walking. I'm in the airport right now, so I'll talk here in a second. I'll pass the time to somebody else.
Yeah, we heard you, Joe, and we heard Dane. We heard you there, Jonathan. So we don't want to spend too much time, but we want to make sure we're not keeping it right. Exactly.
Will you open it to audience members who came late?
Yeah.
And they're gone again.
Frustrating for everybody.
I got off on the wrong level, so another minute.
are we ready now?
Sorry, Steve.
Okay. So I know there was a Facebook post that went out about the RV lot with it potentially closing. I want to see if it was the intention of the CDD to close that lot. And if they were going to take away an amenity that we've had for years, or if they intend to do something to replace it with another location. That was it.
Thank you. And if you read the minutes from the last board meeting, you'll see what the discussion was. And feel free to contact any of us, because of course, audience comments is just comments by the audience, right?
Are the minutes out? Sorry.
Yes, they're online. Yeah, they're at Harmony. For anybody who wants to know, Harmony CDD, all one word, .com.org. And then you go to district meetings and then meeting agendas. There's also, and that's where you'll find all the information.
And actually, last month's meetings are in draft form in the agenda package, so they're not totally cleaned up yet. But it will give you the gist of what we went through. And you can always get a recording from.
And you can always reach out to any of
Reach out
us.
to us.
I will.
Yeah, we just can't do it here because. Okay, anyone else on Zoom?
Last call, anyone else, Jonathan, anyone else that wanted a chance to speak? It looks like we're still connected.
Okay, hearing none, we're gonna move on.
Before we move on to staff reports, are you guys gonna go?
Yeah, we're gonna leave, but I want to mention one other thing is
Oh,
I know the annuals are not in the new contract, okay? And right now, we're installing the annuals in a lot of our communities, putting in holiday flowers and stuff like that. Mostly we're doing geraniums, red geraniums and white petunias around. From my understanding, that table not approved, so if you want annuals, then like the board, reconsider that because we can get them in from our supplier next week going into Thanksgiving, because I know a lot of, homeowners are gonna have family members coming in town and stuff like that. So, this, all your focal point areas, that's your front entrance center meetings and everything.
yeah, and the last annuals that went in. was
Coleus.
Sorely disappointed. They didn't look good at all. So I don't know if you are up in your game on annuals now or.
Yeah, we're gonna have an annual supplier install them themselves. We're not gonna do them, period. But please keep in mind with this, the annuals we do in a lot of the communities that we have, they don't have the issues that you have. You have major deer issues here. Okay, and one thing that, we try to go deer resistance with the certain annuals you put in. A lot of your deer, they love anything that moves. They're gonna eat it. Okay, a lot of stuff we're gonna try now, we're gonna try to put down some deer repellent and how that actually using rabbit repellent has been helping with keeping deer off annuals as well. So we've been experimenting with it out at Victoria Park because obviously they have deer and they have bears out there and stuff. So we've been pretty successful out there with it. So I just wanted to point that out right now. And geraniums and petunias, they can handle
the cold
heat and cold weather, and they're gonna bloom in their last. You get a good life expectancy out of them.
Yeah, I will say that when I'm in and out of the community twice a day during daylight, and so I noticed the annuals. I had the same problem with a bunch of coleus where they suddenly got leggy. If they're pruned back, they flush out
I agree.
full again, right? So, but what I have not seen, what I have noticed is that some of the plants fail because they either have a disease or a pest, or they're not watered properly, or something digs them out of the soil, an armadillo or whatever, and they're not put back in quick enough. But what I really haven't seen is deer eating them. I haven't seen that with the annuals. Is it my understanding our contract does not include annuals at this point?
No, annuals and mulch is not included in the contract anymore. You guys took it out.
So does that mean if we want annuals, we need a proposal?
We would propose it. It's an additional expense. Yes.
Can you submit that for next month?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's it. That's all, yeah.
Okay, one last thing.
Yes.
Don't forget, fire ant mounds all around the long pond. We need fire ant. Copious amounts of fire ants right now. If you can handle that.
Well, yeah, our team's gonna be back out here, just, to let you know.
Okay.
Coach Shane, I wanna see, I'll double check, it might be next week or the week after, so typically when they're out here and see ant mounts, just put them down route. Okay, only thing he can do is apply ant to around the ant
Okay,
mound,
so they're
down
getting-
route. It's better, 'cause,
And we also have crabgrass, just pointed out, a lot of crabgrass and.
Okay.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, staff.
Can I make a
Oh, I'm sorry.
request right
Certainly.
before we move on to staff reports? And that is, I have a question for the district manager about whether, because we're now in November, and we have board members who've just been reelected by default because they submitted their and they qualified and they were unopposed. Do we need to do a reorganization?
We will reseat. We can't do it before the 22nd of November, so that
Okay.
will be part of the December agenda.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, the election was very late this year and we have.
Right, it was the 8th or
What,
something.
2 Tuesdays after that, so.
Okay.
That will be on the next agenda, next month's agenda. Okay, field manager report.
Our supervisors board, Vincent Morel, the manager. Respectfully, can I take one?
All right, I'm dropping.
Sorry, Jonathan.
That's all good. I mean, it calls in and out. I was trying to get out of the airport. I do have a few questions, but I'm gonna drop now. I mean, I already now just missed my exit. And I'm stuck in traffic, so I'm just gonna concentrate on this traffic here.
Hey, you can reach out to us directly. With
Yeah, I'll be
questions.
sending an email anyways. It's more regarding Cervello. Countless times. I mean, even just yesterday, headed to the airport. The guys there, the gentlemen are blowing the leaves and everything over to the owner side of on 5 Oaks. So golf course side, blowing the leaves over to the owner side of 5 Oaks and Catbrier, and then they're not picking them up. And so there just needs to be accountability. I've seen this a couple times now, and it's going to be picking up all this garbage that fell from the trees.
Okay, we started to go into our field services report and had to reenact. I apologize about that. Like I said, we've not had this much of a problem in quite some time. Let's go ahead and let Vincent continue his report, please.
Yeah, so basically, they pick it up bunch of tree branches that was not by my request. So they have maybe 8 loads that was not by ours. So basically, we was picking it up 3 branches the day after the hurricane. So I just request one assistant that was for 2 tree branches, and that's it. All this stuff that was not by ours. Okay.
So do I understand? They did or didn't pick up 7 loads of,
Maybe they did, but we didn't specifically ask them to. Is that what you're saying?
No, they never asked me about, so basically they did it. That was not sent by me. So they already did it because that was part of the duties, but that was not part about the hurricane contract. But I never say something to the field services about the Cervello to pick it up all throughout Harmony.
and did you see them doing it?
they did it, they made it.
Okay.
And so we've always declined that past because we have few field uses.
Exactly. I just request just one assistant between Berggrass and Cupsey for 2-3 branches. Because we are short of personnel, we was busy in other areas. And we had the city truck fully offload on 3 branches. So if they pick it up all throughout Harmony, that was by them because nobody said something.
Well, what we need to do is just have Infomark work with Cervello, because again, we're paying for a full field staff that would have been able to handle it since they're short staffed. We'll let the 2 of them work it out. Okay,
Can I say something on this?
sir.
We get those wonderful reports from Infomark and I think Vince takes the pictures and we get that report every week of all the things that have been done by Infomark in the community. And when there's Cervello, consider making like a master list of all the things that are outstanding and then show us as things are done. So we can keep tabs on it. So maybe they did take the branches out, maybe they didn't, but it's on the list and we're all looking at it, at least once a week. We can say, oh, they forgot to do that. Or if some of the residents call us up and say, hey, this was supposed to be done. I don't know if we're allowed to do much before we get into the meeting, but we get here in the meeting, it's like, okay, we'll look into it, and then it's another month. So those reports that Infomark sends every month, I think are excellent. And I think it'd be
And those reports cover the deficits on Cervello's side also. If you see a lot of them, they're assigned to Cervello. And then he does a follow-up report that you can compare to that previous one of whether it's been completed or not. And unfortunately, a lot of it has not been completed, and that's where the complaints come in from the residents about the work of the community. So we do currently have a request for proposal for a new landscape company that's out on the streets. And we're hoping to be able to address that at our meeting and possibly select a new landscape company for.
And tomorrow is a meeting with them here in the Harmony.
Yes, with anybody who's interested in bidding on it.
Right.
I like that.
And I'll point out that we did receive one additional bid that we, one more than we had, get through the final selection.
So
last
I
time.
look forward to getting those, and hopefully all 4 of them will bid, and hopefully they will all comply with the requirements so we can consider the bids.
We're all our last rope with Cervello.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Did it drop again?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Just checking.
I don't normally attend via Zoom. Any of you here that do, is this typically what happens?
No, I use Zoom every day at work. I work from home and
When I've logged into these meetings, the CDD meetings through Zoom, this happens often.
Okay.
is it the connection of where they're at? Yeah, it's got to be an internet connection. I know it's not the board's fault. It's just it's an internet connection.
Yeah, I think it's internet.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was this disrupted.
But it might be. I don't know if they're using a hotspot or what that connection is, but it's probably just the connectivity.
Thank you.
Dane's back.
Yep, and the recording is done on the cloud, so, I mean, as soon as we know we're disconnected, we pause the meeting here, we wait until we're reconnected, and we're recording it locally, so we're not gonna, lose anything.
Okay, great.
Appreciate it, guys.
Okay, so the heater on the swim club pool,
Mhm.
it's been going down a lot. Have we figured out what the problem is?
Yeah, actually, initially was a 40 amp controller from the well water pump. They replaced that, and the next time, that was the last time that he came again, that was for adjust the valve, because when the pool maintenance service they came, they're supposed to have a more water flow going through the heater. Basically, that was adjusted. Basically, now it's running between 85 degrees on to 88, just in case so having a good balance.
Okay, because we are having probably some residents keep asking to have it not as hot, others want it warm, so we're trying to meet that.
Yeah.
That balance. But it is working.
Actually, right now it's working properly. We already have the 3 vendors for the Harmony sign estimates. I don't know, is this currently added in the agenda?
The sign estimates are in the agenda. The ones I was a little confused about.
Mhm.
The one for the interchangeable sign, we don't need 12 interchangeable signs. We
Okay.
need one at each entrance.
Oh.
And those would be interchangeable to put, like meeting dates and inform people of where the meetings are and when to the HRA and even other HOAs, could use those.
I can reach out them and to get a new estimate for the next agenda or.
Right, and ask them if they can use the current boards that are up there.
Okay.
Instead of having to recreate all.
Right.
So that would be.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other sign estimate, we're not looking for new aluminum signs to go on them. We're looking for just what do you call it, a laminate sheet. We can get the laminate sheet printed up and then it just presses on. So it really should be a lot less expensive than
Oh, yeah.
1,000.
Exactly.
100.
So I will, next week I will reach out.
For next month.
Exactly, for next month, I will reach out to get the new estimates about this.
Now, as far as signs, I want to stay on signs while we're here.
Even though it's later in the agenda,
I'm sorry, where was it?
it's in the agenda
old
under
business.
7A.
No, this isn't informational sign. Well, it is informational signs, but it's field service had already been assigned to get some alligator warning signs. There was supposed to be one for each of the footbridges and a couple for Waterside's Lake.
Yep.
Have those been?
Yes,
I mean,
actually.
you can order them online, they don't have to be specially printed, right?
I'm still waiting for a vendor close to here in Kissimmee. He's supposedly gonna send me this. I think it's completely sure it's gonna be the next week.
Okay.
The new estimate about because education that you're saying about the educational signs. Or
No, these are for the small alligator warning signs that you can buy offline. You can just order them, they come in.
They're like $30 a piece on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I will talk with Brett regarding because I have a inventory, so I want to be extremely sure how many we need.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
actually,
need 2 for the footbridges, one for each footbridge. And you need maybe 4 for Waterside at the most. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
there are all kinds of signs.
We
They're
don't
cheap as
need- I think
$12.
In previous board package, you had almost.
Yeah,
100.
like this is
Low,
great.
low
It says,
profile.
Danger, alligators and snakes in areas, stay away from the water, do not feed wildlife.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, I will get this tomorrow.
This is $28.64.
And you just keep them low profile, we don't want them up in the air.
Okay.
And the kiosks.
Yeah, actually, this way we was working on it because we was uninstall one of them. Basically, we figured it out, this like a copy laminated. So I can, tomorrow I will try to get one, for example, from Office Depot, because they can't to give me copies laminated. And so we can clean up the plexiglass and install that.
Okay.
So also,
And you've gotten all the files from.
yeah, I got all the files right now. So basically, we're gonna do a good project because we're gonna paint the all base.
All the sand.
It's all the sand exactly, including the plexiglass.
Because it's critical that
Yeah.
really takes them to the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's, well, yeah, let's let Vincent finish his, report here.
Yeah, they may be just trying to let us. know.
Right, well, hold on. Just a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
At least see people
it's
moving.
connected, but I need my little, window here to be able to, disconnect and reconnect it. And if this isn't working, then the board will excuse me just a moment. Do you have a way to fix that? Oh, you're good.
Be prepared, they say. Oh, there we are.
Back on?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. We'll go on now to proposals. These are proposals for replacement vehicles. We had one vehicle stolen and one was in a car accident. These are staff vehicles for staff to get around our community. Did you want to address that or do you want us to just go through?
Regarding the new golf cart proposals.
Right.
This added in the agenda, Brett have the all information regarding of this, but he told me they are presenting the agenda, the three different prices.
Okay. Brett, are you on yet? Brett Perez? I don't think he's on. We'll go through these briefly and hopefully Brett will pop on and you can ask questions. There's a global turf, a Cushman gas unit. I presume that's a new one. There are two used Cushman gas for $11,990. We have a new club car, which is electric. It's the 48 volt for $10,839. There's also a lithium ion Easy Go for $12,530, and that has a 2-year warranty on the vehicle and 5-year on the lithium battery. And then Wesco Turf has two different Toro Workmans. The first one is a lithium, which is almost 20,000, just and a Toro Workman electric, which is just batteries for 15. Both of those have a 2-year warranty or 1,500 hours. So this is it. The bigger question that we need answered other than prices is availability. And I didn't see anything in the agenda package as to which, if any of these are currently available. I presume the two used ones are immediately available. I presume they're on the lot. Do you know, did Brett give you any information about this?
The only that I have is this golf carts have a beds for the tools and different stuff. It's comfortable for the field services. But that's it.
But that's all.
That's the only, yeah.
Okay. So, would the board consider tabling this to the agenda, end of the
Please.
agenda? and hope
Yes.
that Brett,
Okay.
unfortunately, because this is an odd day for our meetings, they are at other previous committed meetings, so.
I understand.
Back to that.
We need to understand,
Yes.
you know, what is all of this, you know, the pros and cons of each option and
Yep.
what is recommended as being, giving us the best price, longevity, service, et cetera.
Okay.
Sorry to have to put it on
So,
another month.
yeah, we'll wait. If he shows up before the end of the meeting, we can deal with it. If not, we'll table it till next month. District engineers report. We have a district engineer.
We did.
And real quick, if the board will indulge, I see there's a couple of people on the Zoom call with their hands up. Is that were you wanting to, were you not able to speak before? Or just want to make sure we're giving everyone a chance to talk that had wanted to.
You have to unmute them. I mean, they have it.
No, they can unmute
They-
themselves.
yep,
So
yep.
we're waiting for them to unmute themselves if
which
they want to
is-
talk.
yep.
but they haven't.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Excellent. All right. So this is Jonathan Sarlo, 3358 Cat Fryer. Just a couple of things. One, I'll just start. This is a thankless job. I do understand the frustration of the community members. I understand the frustration probably from the board members in terms of seeing a lot of the feedback that's coming out there. It shouldn't fall on deaf ears. It needs to, I think that there are a number of issues I think revolving around the community right now that need to be addressed. I'll just first say, I do thank you guys. It isn't unnoticed in terms of the work that is happening. However, kind of to preface my comments, I'm pretty familiar enough with running communities. My family's had multiple mobile home parks, multi-million-dollar businesses.
Jonathan,
300 acre.
They dropped off, Jonathan.
Really?
Gosh darn it. Jeez. You got a
We
pretty
could send a
long one.
rocket. We could send a rocket to the moon, but we can't communicate here on Earth.
In our defense, we haven't sent a rocket to the moon. NASA did.
Touche, Dane. Touche. I just got censored. That's all it was. It's okay.
Hey, Jonathan, while we're waiting, I actually did want to echo your comment about the surveillance team and blowing the weeds back up on the property. Like my husband's been going out there and doing the leaves and everything, and they're just blowing them right back. That is frustrating.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit that. I mean,
I think we're
yelled
back
at the
on.
guy.
I think we're
yeah.
back on. Yeah, I think we're back on live, just so you know.
We're going to, we will reopen comments at the end of the meeting. We apologize for these unexpected connectivity issues. We're going to move on to our district engineers report and move through the agenda. We will reopen the floor for comments at the end. Thank you for your patience, everybody. David.
All right, thank you, sir. 2 updates and 2 questions. The first update is, obviously, you approved the milling and resurfacing for neighborhood C1 and C2. The agreement has gone back and forth between Wes, my guy Greg, and CCI, the contractor. He has signed the agreement. I think it's now going back to Wes to look at because he made some changes. If Wes is okay, then it'll go to you, Teresa, to sign off on, and they're good to go. So that's in progress. Last meeting on the estates, we had grouped together all the recommended improvements. The board has asked me to break those up into pieces so we can kind of phase it. So if you recall, we had 3 distinct repairs. One was 2 pipes that need to be slip lined because the entire pipe has been compromised. There's the one pipe that's been compromised because the fence post. And then there's all the pipes that connect to inlets that had all the leaks and poorly constructed connections. So what I'm recommending, what I brought with from Atlantic Pipe Services, to delay the slip lining in the pipes until the houses continue to be completed. So we don't have heavy equipment going out there and potentially compromise them. So the proposal I'm going to hand out today is for the 11 specific repairs, 7 where the pipes touch the inlets, and then 4 places where the pipe joints are separated, but the pipes are too small to get slip lined. So there's 11 repairs total for the amount of $27,716. And this does not require maintenance. So I'll give this to Sean and the boards for their files, because I just got this, I think, today from the contractor or the vendor. I told him we're going to put on hold the slip lining for now. And so this proposal for the amount of $27,715 is for the 11 specific repairs that were identified during the closed circuit televised inspection that was done several months ago before the hurricanes came. So.
This is asking for a local dump site.
I'm not sure how much he'll have that's disposable. I can talk to Brandon before, if you approve this, I can talk to Brandon about what he is disposing of.
we're not asking them to pull out any pipes, we're asking them to remove the inlets. So I'm not sure if it's just the canisters or the products that get delivered to it when they do the work, but I can ask them.
Okay, so the canisters and stuff would be pretty much our current waste fall.
Okay,
Then keep the check on.
all right.
Good. Any questions from the board or comments or?
Yeah, I do have a question. So how much, to what degree will these repairs help reduce
those low areas that are kind of common space or CDD owned land, those were they designed as dry retention? Can you tell? Or
I don't
is
think
it
they were designed to
just-
be part of the stormwater management system. Because the ponds clearly were handled to handle quality and quantity. I think there was just the intent of not disturbing all that vegetation. And maybe not looking carefully at the topography versus the ponds. Maybe it should have been called, I'm not here to point fingers, yeah, so.
So it's not gonna correct that problem, but that problem is not a flooding problem that's going to endanger anyone's home.
And that's like
It's
anything a
not really
garage,
flooding.
yeah, it's not structural flooding, yeah,
Right.
it's a nuisance flooding, I call it.
And we've only had this problem since we have had a lot of rain. Because when the lake was low and the ponds were lower, there wasn't an issue, but because we've had a lot of rain, we had a lot of rain this spring, we had a lot of rain last year, we've had a hurricane with 12 inches of rain in September. I think that's added to the problem the Gables are experiencing, is that there's just a high right now and high, that, you know, the ponds and the lake are high. And so
Right.
is that, would that be a good?
We did have problems in other areas, but then we found out the county had some plugged pipes. The county was quickly to unplug them, so that solved. Well, remember, we had water sitting in the streets and that's gone away, so that's all been fixed by the county. And so yes, during our dry periods, they should be perfectly normal. During above average wet seasons like we had this year, it's gonna be problematic for them, unfortunately, and the mosquito thing is quite out of control sometimes.
Now, these repairs are going to fix and prevent the problems that we saw, I think maybe before your time, like we had up near the tavern, where we had a break in the pipe and the soil just went down the
Correct.
pipe, and that prevents further pipe clogging and deposition in the stormwater.
Yeah, the pipe joints being separated too far causes the earth above it to eventually create this little baby sinkhole. It dumps the dirt in the pipe gets clogged again. And then you have people concerned about, do I have a sinkhole in my yard? So it's to kind of remedy those situations.
And that's what this.
That's what these 11 repairs are. Yep.
And the remainder of the repairs are going to be done after they build out the estates because the construction process could affect those projects.
Well, the two locations where the pipes need to be slip line, once those adjacent lots are done, we can do them. We don't have to wait for the whole subdivision. It's just, it's two distinct areas where the pipes will be slip line. And if they ever finish those houses by the Gables, it's taken forever. We'll look into that, but yeah, I know you want to separate this and kind of delay some of all the costs of the estate. So this is the first one is the 11 repairs specifically to the pipes and inlets.
With that explanation, do I get a motion?
We approve this APS proposal for $27,715.
Yes, I'll propose or. Yeah.
Removed.
That we approve this.
I have a motion, but I have a second. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion?
Well, we don't want to do it, but.
No, we don't want to spend the money.
We
but-
don't, but this is the core of what the CDE does. Is to maintain the infrastructure to make sure our houses don't flood. And, that we have appropriate places. This is the core mission of the CDE.
Especially when it comes to water issues.
Yes. Especially in Florida.
Dane, Dan, any questions?
Dane, any questions on this issue? I know you don't have it in front of you.
I don't have any questions. Seems like the logical path here. And it seems overdue. So.
Yes.
It's not gonna get any cheaper.
Exactly.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously.
So I'll get.
I got to vote on it.
At least I'll get home.
It's kind of shocking that the district engineer is using terms like sinkholes for things that aren't sinkholes, which could drive up everybody's homeowner's insurance.
Your chair up before you.
Yeah, I won't hit that again.
Now, don't go yet, because I have a question. The road down through the garden, there was an issue. There was some confusion. The Harmony Central folks, in exchange for an easement, agreed to grade that road. But evidently, when our previous attorney provided the documents, it only included that area in the pipeline right of way and not the area from the right of way to where the RV storage gates are.
Okay.
So they had done that with Dan Evans, who is heading up the over in Harmony Central. And he understood, he was confused. He said that, well, the person that negotiated this was a man, evidently it was Steve Berube. And he didn't carry through on what the desires of the board were to have not just the area that they were going to damage graded, but our entire road in exchange for the easement. So that fell through the crack, but I spoke with Mr. Evans and he said he will be getting with Junior Davis and get back with us he's pretty sure that he can arrange that if we provide the shell material
Okay.
that the road's made out of now, that he can get them to come in and gratis, move it around and grade it and improve it.
Good.
So I just wanted to check with you, is shell material the right thing to put down in there now?
Gravel's better, but if you're getting it for free, I wouldn't.
I don't.
Well, they're not gonna provide it, we have to buy either the shell or the gravel, so you say you're recommending
Need
gravel.
the gravel, yeah.
Okay, and they mentioned.
The shell can kind of disintegrate on you when it gets wet.
Okay.
So they've only done, Teresa, what was parallel to the road. When it peels off towards the RV, they didn't do that portion, correct? Okay.
Yeah. But he said he would try and work it out to where they will provide the equipment and the manpower, if we can provide the material.
Okay.
Now they could come in here and just knock the tops off and knock them in, but then we've seen already on the part that they already did that it's deteriorating. So,
Really? On the part they just did?
yeah, it's starting to rut really, and maybe that's why it's important to put some gravel in there.
Yeah.
To mix it in there with it. So I will stay in touch with him and get that worked out and get field services to find some providers or something, so we can get that done.
And then lastly, when all the paperwork is signed for the milling resurfacing, we may want to do some type of information or door hanger or email for a heads up for those residents when they're actually gonna get out there and make all the noise to do the work and stuff like that. So probably obviously after the holidays.
And one other thing we discussed when you first came on were the cattails in our stormwater ponds that we're responsible for maintaining in the golf course. Have you been out there to assess those golf course ponds yet? Like you did
I haven't been yet. Vincent and Brother let me know that Vincent and his guys have finished my first round of cleanups on the ponds outside the golf course. And now that the weather's getting nice, I'll hit the interior and look at that as well. So
because the golf course has contacted us. We're also having the cattail growth, you know, it was pretty bad already. It's gotten exponentially bad. It was, as I think we were advised, I don't know if it was Catherine or you, that when the biomass gets that big, then it's no longer a spray treatment, it's a harvest.
Yep.
And it looks like we're there.
is that a CDD responsibility or the golf course?
It's our responsibility. We are,
Because I know the control structures are yours. I didn't know the ponds were yours in the golf course.
we have an easement and
To maintain.
Okay, all right.
Now there was
To maintain this,
yes,
the stormwater drainage system.
and the golf course folks were a little upset that we were erroneously told or informed that they wanted us to keep our hands off the ponds. I think that was before 2 years. It's been like 3 or more years.
Yeah, I was told as a board member that the golf course did not want us managing.
Well,
It was erroneous.
that was erroneous. That was.
That's why this map, we've always done the blue outside the golf course is CDD maintained ponds, and inside the golf course, we didn't do that for the ponds, but we do the control structures. So if you're telling me the ponds inside are also ours, I'll update that. So
They don't belong to the CDD, I don't think, but
we don't own them, but
we are
have them.
obligated to maintain them because they're part of the stormwater.
all right,
management
I'll do a
system.
different color or something to distinguish that. Okay.
It's interesting because up north, we have problems with the common reed Phragmites, and we are always looking for more cattails. Too bad we can't ship the cattails up north. We have a problem here.
Oh,
Is Kevin Shirley trying to talk?
No, I just, I'm instead, if I put our video up there, it's maybe using more of the connection. I'm just trying to optimize that.
yes.
Keeps it disconnected.
All right, so no
Okay.
video, just audio.
well, what we're gonna need to go to, does any other questions from any board members, Dane, or any other folks in the room? Any further questions of our district engineer?
Not here.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're moving on now to our district council's report. We have Joe, I think it's Joe Brown is with us,
Yes.
and we're just gonna go through this. The first item was a memo on surplus property, on how to deal with the with disposing of surplus property in the district. My understanding, Joe, this was provided for guidance only, and that we should follow this, but not necessarily for any board action. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, depending on the board's evaluation and the property in question, the memo lays out 3 basic paths for you to consider whenever you are prepared to make a decision about the sale or donation of any surplus property the district owns. And if I give you my 10,000-foot gloss on it, the first option is just to limit the sale or donation to nonprofits or other public entities, first within the county and then outside the county. The process is a little less involved from a procedural standpoint. But of course, you're talking about a more limited pool of potential purchasers. So that might be a good option if the board was inclined for policy reasons, or because you had particular entities, public entities or nonprofits in mind. If you wanted to go that route, it's a little less cumbersome. Procedurally, a little more constrained with respect to the parties that you'd be negotiating with. The other option is under a different statute section, 274.06, and there are 2 paths under that statute depending on the value of the property. If it's less than 5,000, there is less procedure involved, and you have a broader scope of potential buyers, including private properties in addition to public entities and nonprofits. If it's greater than $5,000 in value, there is more process involved, public auction requirement to make the sale to the highest responsible bidder and to publish notice, for example. So you've got a couple different options for the board to weigh from a policy perspective, depending on the facts on the ground, the value of the materials, and what the board envisions doing with them.
And they provided the different resolutions that would be used for each of the different categories. So right now, my understanding is we may have some surplus property in the vehicles that we're going to be scrapping once the insurance gets all finalized. But at this time, we'll just take that under consideration and select the proper resolution at the time when it comes.
Correct.
The next section was a question that we had previously about being able to post our meeting videos on a third-party website such as YouTube.
And there was nothing in the agenda regarding that, no memo.
No, there is not a memo, and to my understanding, it's a fairly simple question. You can post the meetings on YouTube, and in particular, I think there may have been a question about requirements to include. It's escaping me right now, but essentially the subtitles, right? That for the closed captioning. Sorry, apologize. Closed captioning for the videos, and there is no requirement to include closed captioning for those videos posted on a private third-party site like YouTube.
Okay, so at this point, it seems that we're allowed to do that. If the board is interested in doing that, I think we could just go ahead with a motion to permit that to be done.
I move to approve that and I don't know who's going to do it, but I move to approve that that we allow Dan Leak to post our meetings on YouTube for public consumption. Without,
If you put his name in it, you'll have to amend it later.
sorry, what?
If you put his name in the motion, you're gonna have to amend the motion when he leaves the board.
Yes, we'll just say the board. Yes.
Okay. So amended.
Sorry.
I second the motion. In the amendment. Any further discussion? Dane?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you all.
But I will say this, when it comes to, if, Dan's no longer on the board, or is no longer posting these, and just because he's not on the board doesn't mean he can't record them via Zoom and post them
Mhm.
on YouTube. But my question is, what happens if we've now approved this and Dan moves away or is no longer able to, and then
The board will have to readjust it.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Back to you, Mr. Brown. I think the next item was mowing responsibilities. So you had some information on.
Yes, and I believe there's an email that my colleague Mike Eckert prepared in your agenda package, laying out the summary of his findings reviewing this issue. And so I understand it in particular, we're focused on the grass in between lots and the street. So landscaping within the right of way in that area. And the bottom line is reflected in the materials in the agenda package is that the district has the ability to maintain that if it would like to, because it owns it. But there is a clear requirement in the covenants and restrictions for the community that imposes an obligation on the adjacent property owner to maintain that strip of grass, that landscaping. In terms of obligations of the district as opposed to rights, you would have as a district, a minimum obligation to maintain it at the level required by county code. I believe the covenants and restrictions would impose a higher standard on the property owners to maintain it to the standards of the community, which would exceed the bare minimum required by county code. Beyond that, if there is a life safety immediate kind of issue, it would be one that the district should, if they're alerted to it, address and not try and address, for example, through working with the HOA to get homeowners to maintain that area if that's the course, for example. I think that's a basic summary of what Mike included in the package. I'm happy to try and address any questions if there are any.
So I will just say that this memo in the agenda is the result of some residents coming to the meeting last time and asking about the legal authority to require residents to maintain their easements, right? The area between the sidewalk and the curb. A developer had decided that it would be included in landscaping on the boulevards, namely Five Oaks, Catbrier, Schoolhouse, because those are the boulevards that everybody passes when they're come to look at a house to buy, right? So the developer included that, and in an attempt to save money partly, and also in an attempt to make things a little more equal, because the people who lived in those homes for all those years, 20 years, had the benefit of not having to pay or deal with the maintenance for those areas. And now we thought, well, maybe it's time to return the responsibility or turn the responsibility over to the people who own those lots for the maintenance of those particular areas, and also save the CDD money and all the residents' money at the same time. So that was the thinking behind returning or turning over the maintenance, which includes fertilization, weeding, water. Well, we are going to continue to water because our irrigation system runs under there. So the CDD will continue to water and maintain the irrigation for those areas, but residents are required to fertilize and mow and weed, etc., those areas. At the last meeting, several people came and said, well, how can you require us to do that? So we asked our attorney to look into the legality of the CDD saying, we're turning this over to you to maintain, and now it's your obligation to maintain. And this memo in the agenda package explains why it is legal. That makes sense?
Excellent summary.
Thank you.
I believe it was $17,000 it's gonna save
Well, through Cervello,
That was-
somebody else was 120.
Okay, well, I just for grins figured out how much it costs if we did all of Harmony so that everyone is treated the same because they don't take care of my birds.
Right.
Right, and but I mean, I don't care. I even.
So what was it?
Well, oops. Moly, there are 1,580 homes. And at $17,000 estimate for approximately 100 homes, that's $170 a year for each home. And for 1,580 homes, we'd be $268,600. So,
That's
and that's to be, I mean, if we want it to be fair, because we all have verges, and why are some people getting theirs taken care of? The original developer, I understand why he did it, but we're not him, right? So, well, I drove Brett and Angel crazy, but I didn't ask my questions right, so they didn't understand what I was asking, but yeah, I got it finally. So, and I suspect we don't want to make a motion to do everyone's for the tune of 268. And that sounds like a low estimate, right? So.
Now, one thing I will say while we're discussing this, and this, I guess, goes to maybe one of the proposals we saw earlier. But I agree, we definitely have the legal standing to, make this change and treat, all of the, property owners in the same way where they're required to maintain that area in front of their sidewalks. In this particular case, though, if there was in the past where the CDD had been responsible for the maintenance there and that maintenance were lapsing, and now we're throwing the switch and saying it's your responsibility now, I think we should at least look at, and there may not be a perfect solution to this, but and maybe it's, maybe this blows away how much we save for that first year, and then it's, saving going forward. I think we should at least consider making sure that when we're doing this turning over of the responsibility, that we're at least leaving it in, decent shape, and that if it had lapsed, that we,
Well,
I think
I don't know that there's an easy solution.
understand we've had several proposals for the frontage on just one home for a number of, one of them was $1,000 per home to do the grass in front of it. This latest one was what, $1,600 for one home. When you multiply that times 100 homes, we're getting again into.
Right, well, and I'm just bringing up for consideration. I don't think that all 100 of them have lapsed. I'm just, bring it up for us.
Individual basis.
If that's something maybe Infomart could look at in the, not promising that we can do anything about it, but that we at least.
I would like to see at least minimally leaf removal and fertilization and checking that the irrigation is working correctly on those. Exactly.
We can ask.
Maybe even
Infomart can ask for a proposal.
Yeah.
There is also the option of putting ground cover if you don't want grass. As I drive around and see, actually, I'm in the process of trying to fix up my yard, and I see some really nice ground cover on some of them.
And that's what we discussed, because they are very shaded.
And as you said, the ones who park in front of their house instead of using their garage, they're walking over it how many times a day?
Yeah, there's a particular house on Catbrier, which we were requested to look at. This was over a year ago. Actually a number of areas, but the problem was that the leaf litter hadn't been picked up, the irrigation had been turned off, it hadn't been fertilizing, was just being ignored. And so, yeah, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I did not feel good about turning over these easements to homeowners to maintain when the CDD hadn't maintained it very well. So if you could please
Look into it.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have a question. So then if this falls under the residents' responsibility just due to the HOA, does the HOA also dictate what kind of ground cover can be there? What kind of grass, what kind of things can be put there?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a yes from one of our HROA board members, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions on this? We have, and Mark will be looking into and kind of doing a survey of what might be needed and what the cost would be to do some preliminary work to get that those areas up to par at this time, and we'll bring that back for the December meeting.
Okay.
So at this time, we move on to the use of private emails. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, you have a resolution in the agenda package, which establishes a policy reflected in Exhibit A there too, for use of district email addresses by supervisors. The policy, in short, requires supervisors to use those email addresses, and in the event that you receive an email that would be a public business, a public record concerning district business at your private email address, would require the supervisor to forward that to their district email address for purposes of maintaining public records and ensuring those records are preserved.
Thank you. A little background behind this is when we were looking into the legality of the RV parking area and the storage area. It came to our attention the previous board member had been using his personal email address. And so very little, almost none of the items that are supposed to be in our public records repository dealing with that issue are in them. So we wanted to immediately clean that up and get all of the board members now in the future. I mean, I think it was insipid policy in the past that we all use our district email addresses to be sure we maintain that public records. But it was not complied with, and it may end up costing the district money to regain those public records that we need. But that's being looked into also. So to basically close the barn door, I would ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2023-02.
So move to approve resolution number 2023-02.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, there's is there is this, I'm pretty sure I understand, but I want to make sure that this resolution is strictly talking about email communication, and if communication is happening, say by text message, that is either, does that need to be included in this or handled separately, or what? To make sure we're all understanding, that, say if I get a message from Brett or something. Oh, hi, Angel.
Hi, sorry, I'm late, everyone. You should not be communicating district business via text. We try and stay away from that, but in the case that you do, yes, that would be subject to public record as well. And I can let legal opine on that, but we should try and stay away from that.
Yeah, the resolution itself doesn't speak to text messages or other forms of communication. It's specific to emails, but that's correct. I mean, whatever the form of communication, if you're creating a record regarding communication of district business that could constitute a public record, whether it's on Facebook or through a text message, all those things could potentially end up being public records that there would be an obligation on the part of the district to maintain. Sometimes those things are unavoidable. And as the comment was just made, if there are instances where there is communication of district business back and forth between a resident and a supervisor, for example, by text message, I'd ask you to take a screenshot of that and email it to your district address, for example. But in general, I would try and avoid those things unless it's something that the district has a plan in place to ensure that those records are being maintained.
Okay. Sounds good.
Question for Angel. For yourself and Brett, Are your text messages with supervisors maintained as public records at this time?
She on mute?
He's muted. Yeah.
Angel, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, repeat your question, Teresa.
Being that you have Infomart funds and you're our public records custodian, if we are texting you or Brett or another Infomart employee, do those things get cataloged, or should we be taking screenshots and saving them to our email?
Anytime that I send a text to a supervisor, if I'm traveling or something and can't get to my email, I usually follow it up with an email, but we'll make sure that those are screenshotted and deposited in the district files.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously. Okay. There's one other thing under district council's business, and that is the basketball court. Mr. Brown, do you know about that as far as the letter of request?
I do, yeah, I'm familiar with a little of the background on that issue, and that there's an issue with the leveling of the basketball court and cooling or puddling issues because there are some deviations in the surface of the basketball court. I also understand that there were some preliminary representations by a representative of the contractor that did that work, that they were going to work with the district to make repairs, but that didn't happen. And I believe we received some correspondence from an attorney retained by the contractor demanding payment of what's remaining under the contract to be paid. So our recommended course of action would be to prepare a response to that demand letter explaining the contractor's failure to perform and stating that payment will be made until the defects are addressed. We can't make any promises at this point about how what the outcome will be from this point going forward. In my experience, typically in these sorts of circumstances, you end up in some sort of I'll call it settlement posture, right? Where maybe you don't get everything that you'd like to get out of this, but get some sort of resolution for the district, and certainly not just turning over what is remaining to be paid on the contract, given the failure to perform. So we'll have to evaluate how things proceed from here, but as an initial first step, our recommendation is to prepare a response to that letter.
Okay, do you need any direction from us, or do you just?
No, I don't believe we need any direction. I mean, if there are any questions from the board, or if there is a desire to I don't know, consider alternatives if the board has them, but I think that is our recommended next step.
I mean, you have all the information that we collected about the performance not being up to the contract, correct?
I believe we do. In particular, I think Mr. Haber has all that. And I guess I would ask if there's anybody in particular that we should be coordinating or interfacing with on preparing that letter, and if the board would like to appoint a particular supervisor, chair, vice chair, for example, to provide final review and approval of the response we prepare.
I'm happy to let the chair review and approve if she wants to.
I am too, since she's the one that measured all the depths.
Oh,
I mean, you're so familiar with it. You did hands-on, you crawled around the basketball court and made sure.
Yes, and I'll go ahead and do that if you can let Mr. Haber know that I'll be his contact on that. And hopefully we can resolve this. Everybody
surprising because they were so agreeable on the phone that night when we brought it up, and then they doesn't appear that they made any attempt to rectify it other than go straight to their attorney.
In fact, they didn't even invoice us for the final payment. They just sent it over. So and that speaks volumes. I look back through the minutes and the key statement is, Mr. Lee stated, we are clear that there will be some water, I think. We are talking about 1/8 of an inch versus 3/4 of an inch. And the representative from AAA stated yes, and that is a very large difference. We definitely need to correct that.
Then she said that she was going to check with the owner of the company, and apparently he must not have agreed.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So this is where we stand right now, but we will work to have that resolved. I would love for them to come back in and fix that bonding issue and get it done. We will do our best to do what's best for the district. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown.
My pleasure.
Did you have anything else you needed from us?
I do not. Of course, I'm happy to try and address the questions if there are any, or else deliver those to Mr. Eckert or Mr. Haber.
Okay.
I do have a question.
I do too. Sorry.
My question is about the public records from our previous legal counsel and whether anything's been received and what the status is.
They have not been received, and as I understand it, our office is working on a sternly worded letter to, I think, your former counsel, in addition to maybe some others, with regard to production of those records.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, I'm not sure if Wes had stated to you or Mike regarding Mr. Leet's question about placing videos on YouTube. I don't know if you have that information, but I think it just comes down to that, yeah, he can place them on YouTube as a resident as opposed to a representative of the district.
Angel?
Yes.
We dealt with that already. He said
Oh, great. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. And there is no issue, of course. I mean, the videos being recorded are public records. So, I mean, if an individual resident wanted to come in and record the meeting, they could, and they could post it where they wish. So no issue with who is posting those.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. There's one other item that I'd like to inquire or mention to the board. While we're still under supervisor's business, and district legal counsel's business, it bleeds over into the district manager's report, but I wanted to touch on it right now. As we look towards moving field services, which is required because we're not up to code, having it back in that back corner. We investigated the possible location where we could move that facility. And because there is the easement language, and they looked at it and determined that the easement, unless it has been affirmatively in writing conveyed to another entity, it's still held by Birchwood LLC. And Birchwood Partners is still an active entity within the state of Florida. So, and this easement language not only flows to the parcel in question, U2 and B1, but it also flows toward or is attached to our linear park around the golf course, to all of the areas adjoining our streets and homes. All of our pocket parks are burdened by these easements, and this puts us in a very potentially dangerous position in the future. If someone wanted to come in and do anything with any of these parcels. So I'd like to just propose tonight for the board members to think about it and come back maybe in December and discuss it further. Is possibly having our district legal counsel to approach whoever the current controller of Birchwood Acres is. And my understanding is this entity has moved completely out of the area and is not involved in any development at this point, to our knowledge. and approach them and see if they would be willing to release the blanket easement language over all those multiple parcels throughout. So, we could do it that way. The other thing we could do would be, he indicated we could go to eminent domain if we needed to go that far with it. Or just ignore it and make them force us out, which I don't know that I'm real comfortable with that one. So think about it, and next month we can make a decision as to which direction we go to clear up those legal questions on our land ownership. Did I do that okay, Mr. Brown?
Yes, very well.
Okay. So now we're to the district manager's report.
All right, so first thing is the RV lot closure. So we did draft a letter that's in your agenda package. It was sent out on November 8th. And so it does inform the residents of the closure that will take place at the end of the year with the refund of fees that'll be on a prorated basis.
But I've heard that some people have not received that letter.
Yes, ma'am. I double checked when I get back to the office, but as far as I'm aware, November 8th is when they were at least dropped off at the post office.
It's 9 days later.
So if there's if someone has not received one, has anyone in?
Yeah, this
I have
over
not.
here.
We have not.
I am not.
Well, we know the postal system is having serious problems, so hopefully, if you all kind of give us a heads up by email, letting us know if and when you get those letters. That way.
And I wonder whether we may need to, at this point, because it's been 3 weeks since we'd hoped that letter would go out, maybe we extend.
Well,
Maybe
actually,
we extend.
I had this whole thing that I was gonna bring up about this,
So that we
but I
can-
didn't know when to do it.
You can bring it up now or
Yeah.
in supervisor's requests,
Okay.
either
This
spot.
works.
But I
Because, yeah.
could say, but I would suggest that we extend the closure until January 31st.
Is the board amenable if we've got email addresses for everyone? I don't know that we do, but if we do, would it be beneficial to email them a copy of the letter that was mailed? And they were in fact dropped off at the post office on the 8th.
Yes, well, but be that as it may, two of the people at the meeting have rental spots at the lot, and neither of them have received it, and it's 9 days later. So
But she's saying if she could do it by email instead.
I
Yeah,
understand. but
I
it's already
understand
9
that.
It's already 9 days later, which is like already 10 plus days later after we requested a letter go out. So what I'm saying is I wonder if we might extend the closure by a month, since it's, next week is Thanksgiving, and then, people have family in town, then it's the holidays, and maybe we just give them more time.
Well, actually, go ahead.
Go ahead with what you have to say, and then.
All right, well, last month at the meeting, we've been talking about the RV lot, but then when we finally made the decision to do it because of the county code to make sense, it was difficult. But then all of a sudden I was like, oh, when are we gonna do it? And we just jumped on that. And so actually it's been eating at me since last month, because we did it, they weren't gonna get their letters until November. And now we're in the busiest time of the year with the holidays and Christmas coming up. And I really don't think the county would do anything to us if we gave them even till March 31st, because the ones that have the huge vehicles, that's gonna take some doing. And, or the end of their lease or March 31st, whichever comes first. So someone's lease ends the end of December, but,
Okay, I want to provide it because I think it's important that we're in this situation because a board member withheld
right,
a lot of information from the entire board. But I did inquire of our legal counsel and of our district manager as to what the liability, because someone came up and posted, well, we have insurance to cover any liability, or they investigated, and just like any homeowner's insurance, our insurance has the same out that we are, if we are operating, any kind of facility, amenity or whatever that's not in compliance with county codes, they don't cover us.
Okay, but we've been operating it for all these years, and I think
Just,
giving
I
people,
want you to be aware that we're hanging out on the limb.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, and now having all the facts before you, I would entertain a motion if the board so desires to change the final date of post.
Well, I have one other idea too. Can I bring that up
Okay,
now
you
so we do it all
certainly
clean? All right, so we're 73 spaces. And it's gonna cost, it was approximately $500,000 to do the road. That whole road going back there, right?
no, it was less than that. It was the road, it was the fencing, it was the landscaping and the lighting and the.
Okay, well, I
security
used the
and-
figure of
Okay,
500,000.
let me
All right.
add this though, and we have our district engineer back here. The one thing we never got to was the cost of actually improving the lot itself.
Mhm.
The county is requiring us to actually pay the area road in there. They gave us a waiver on paving. They let us work a deal with the Florida Gas Transmission, which ended up being enormously expensive anyway. But they didn't waive or negotiate
Right.
the requirement to pave into and all the driving lanes throughout. So that's gonna be, again, additional funds, which
Well, just to present my idea, I'm gonna use my estimates. And so I found out there's 70.
500,000.
Yes. So, but see, I already did all the calculations, so I have to use the 500,000.
I understand.
So, so there's 73 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe that could wiggle bigger or smaller or something, you know, depending on the layout if it got paved. So to raise that $500,000, it would be $6,850 per rental space. Now, some are bigger than others, so I'm using numbers. So if people really want this RV storage and are willing to pay $600 a month, I mean, why not? As long as it's not costing the other 1,500 residents of Harmony for them to have that lot, which is what we were trying to avoid. But if they're willing to shell out the money, I don't see any reason not to let them have it. But it would be $600 a month to store their things, which is.
So it'll be something above that with the additional paving.
Right, right. But still, I guess we should have made that an option, because some people might say, heck, I want to keep it there. I'm willing to pay it. But we need 73 of them. to
I
say
mean, but
that.
but that doesn't work piecemeal. You can't, just, what if, 8 people say they want to do that?
Well, that's what I just said. We need
Right.
73 of them to do it. So, but I mean, it was an idea I came up with because, you know, I mean, we all felt bad about closing it, but we don't have a lot of options here. And then, of course, we could just wait until we can bring it in from the other direction, as we said. But
we get at that point, then it makes
does
it
anyone have an idea how much
Well-
it costs to rent an RV storage lot at like Rockers Lockers or one of those other stores?
$200 for an RV. 180.
Oh, so you wouldn't want to pay 600 to keep it here.
That would not be a good amendment.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so.
All right.
Garden too, then?
I'm sorry, what was the comment?
Okay.
I don't know.
Do
Dan?
I
Dan had something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we mentioned, the other approaches. The Harmony Golf Reserve owns that entire property, to the north of that, or kind of the northwest of the parcel. Have we approached them? I want to say, I remember this having happened at some point in the past, or it had been shot down at some point, but I mean, have we at least approached them to see if they would be any interest in, I don't even know, looking at, a map, like where the road could be that would be interfering with their operations.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we haven't, left any stone.
We went all over that, I walked it and tried to see, the problem is the traffic through there would conflict with their operations. And, we can try. I've got a feeler out right now to talk to them about another issue that we'll discuss in a minute, so I can broach that with them also.
But even so, even if they were to allow us, so we didn't have to pay for the paving of the road, it still would not be allowed use without the paving of the lot, which is going to be ultra expensive, right? Paving is, I don't know, what's the price per, does anybody know what the price per square foot is for, or square yard for paving?
Brand new road.
Yeah, not road. I'm not talking about a road, I'm talking about a
No.
lot.
Yeah, but like our alleyways, it wouldn't be repaving, it would be. Because you
Right.
have to do a road bed and.
Right, I mean, that's not a magic bullet, but that would, at least give us, what's our best case scenario of, okay, yes, we'd still have this other paving we have to do, but if we could take the access road repaving out of the picture, does that gets, closer enough that we can swallow it, but having said everything else, I would move that we postpone the closure of the RV lot to March 31st, pending the delays of notification and possible other follow-ups.
So we have a motion for March 31st. Do we have a second?
Can I amend it now, or do I wait till no one seconds it, or?
Somebody has to second it, then we discuss it.
Oh, okay.
And if there's an
I'll
amendment
second it.
for discussion.
But you want to amend it.
So what is your discussion?
Oh, I just wanted to say March 31st or the end of their lease, whichever comes first.
Ah,
Because some of them might end December, January, or February, and we can
We've got
start,
quite a few that-
we can phase it out that way.
Is
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay, so the motion maker has accepted the amendment, and the second, I presume, accepts the amendment also.
Right, well, my thing is otherwise we have to write new leases for these
No,
people,
that's-
right? Right,
that's
so
fine.
trying to keep it simple.
No, I appreciate that. Any other discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Dane,
Aye.
thank you.
Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously.
We need to still decide how we're gonna notify people.
I think we should email it, and I think there's only 25, they live in the neighborhood who might be able to have field services drop a letter by them.
Or even certified mail.
With the
Uh,
new date.
I don't know, certified
Yes.
mail gets very expensive, so.
I thought it was like $2 each. We could, yeah, okay.
I'll be, in my discussions, with Daniel Evans from Harmony Central, and I would like to know what the feeling is. It dawned on me, we'll be chatting when I return in a couple of weeks. Because we do have that interconnect that the county is requiring of us in that location. It's supposed to be limited to pedestrian.
What location?
At the location where the dirt road is now on the pipeline easement, that pipeline easement area. They're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's on the PD, right?
Yes, the PD requires us to have an interconnect Harmony Central there. It says equestrian, pedestrian, bicycle. And I guess we could consider
Golf cart.
golf carts, but they said absolutely no automobile traffic.
Basically saying that we have between us and Harmony West.
Right.
Right, we've got 2 interconnects with Harmony West.
Yep.
So, but I just wanted to let you all know that we'll be talking in the discussion. I'll bring back the information back to the board.
Okay.
About how, because he indicated that they may be willing to improve that pathway to make it a lot nicer and even our side. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that they'll be able to do that for us. So that's all right. Mr. Manager.
Additionally, kind of going back to the deed of dedication, so we've been looking at new options for the field service office. So I'd like to get some clarity in terms of what the board would like in terms of that office, for instance, construction material, potential square footage, permanent, semi-permanent building, based on what we've heard in terms of that. So provided Teresa had sent us a picture as well of a potential option. Or an idea of what that would look like.
Put it on the thing somehow, so Dave can see it, all right.
You
Yeah,
can pass it around.
there's some copies of here, if anybody wants one.
They posted it on the forum already.
This is just a, it's a modular building that then the community that has it dressed it up with a little pergola out front and, just made it look so much nicer than our field services trailer currently does. So I just want to let you know, it doesn't have to be a big ugly trailer sitting out there, and nor would we want it to be. We also have a trailer rental that we currently have. It's $490 a month. If we're gonna do this, we may want to buy a trailer or even a portable classroom and fix it up like this. I can't see us doing something that would cost us in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It just does not make sense at all for what this use is. I brought through, actually, Sean brought for each of you a handout that basically shows.
I gave him one.
And we got some extras too. It shows our PD approval for Harmony, our Harmony. And it also shows what the different categories are. Up above, it shows community maintenance facilities. And if you run across, it shows where they're permitted. And basically they're permitted in every category except conservation area. So those would be if we didn't want to look at the location we're currently discussing, we'd have to find something we own somewhere else in the community. So that's just for you to look at and get familiar with and see if there's some other location. The deed of dedication, again, as we mentioned, does have that easement over it. When I spoke with our legal counsel, he said that there is a possibility, again, if we don't get it cleared, that if we put something there, they could come in and say, hey, we want to use this whole area for parking. We have an easement to do it. And but he also indicated that it may be very hard for them to get us to move, that it would, be back and forth. We've already seen that we finance people based on what we went through with Harmon Cove. They are not comfortable with the easement language and feel that it could be broken or something else. But again, that might behoove us to use more of a modular or easily moved structure. Just in that case, because I would not want to jeopardize a lot of the district's monies in putting something permanent in and then having
to move
it. But other than modular buildings, there are also, like the, what are they called?
You do kind of semi-permanent, which you would actually have pillars versus the foundation, so crawl space style. So that building could potentially be relocated versus a slab.
Well, I think
That's
part
where
of,
you kind of fall into the semi-permanent. It's just really depending on budget and what you guys are looking for in terms of use as well. Do
Yeah.
we want to have a garage door so we can store some of our supplies in there, the UMAX, et cetera? Or are we looking at it to keep it similar to where we're at, which is probably what you're going to get with the trailer.
right. And we have no idea what the costs of these things are really. So
So putting a budget out there too as well, where if we're not 100% sure what we want in terms of building material, permanent, semi-permanent, modular, if we can get maybe a budget and an idea of the use that we want, I can go back and look at providing the board some options, maybe across the whole board. as long as I have a budget that I can.
Yeah, but we have no idea of what a reasonable budget would be.
Right, so, yeah.
I mean, I would like to keep it below, say, $60,000, $60,000 or below, but I don't know, what we're gonna get for $60,000.
If we had a meeting room, we would save the monthly meeting fee.
We're not paying anything here.
Yeah, but we,
Well, someday we might have
Yeah.
to.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that would be, I mean, you're not gonna get that in a trailer or
Yeah.
even a
Well, not in a
semi-permanent.
trailer, but we're talking about some modular.
portable classroom or something like that.
Well, you can also do a concrete block because,
And you
That's
also have an
permanent.
option that there are kind of like the steel style workshops. They're a lot nicer than they used to be, right? Which can run you anywhere from 15 to 30,000 for the structure and then the foundation, which.
oh, we need to put a restroom.
And I don't think it's anywhere between $150 to $175 square foot if you were to build a house, so I'm not scale with that. If you want X amount of square feet for this is an area, what you want to call it, so.
And then, because that would be another thing to take into consideration with a shop like that is the internal build out. But that could potentially be something over time as well. I'm
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to look at that.
So these are some things that we want you all to think about, and we can bring back to the December meeting for further discussion. Infomark's going to continue to reach out and look at different options and
Okay.
bring us back some
Great.
better numbers.
Well, we're probably not gonna be able to get it done real soon anyway, because all the builders are busy.
I'll start with the 60,000 as a baseline.
Yeah, I mean, I just threw that out. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it. And I also don't know what kind of site development costs we would have either within that or on top of that.
Luckily, I pulled up the Harmony Code. They did extensive work in that area and the sewer is right there. In fact, that's the lift station that's fenced in that's in that area. So it looks like site development, the requirement is one parking space per every 500 square feet in the building. So that won't be a big deal. I think we can right now, just on that little street apron that comes in there, probably park 3 cars. at
Yeah.
least.
And I mean, it would be great to have a garage that could fit our
All of our
vehicles.
Yes.
And
And
equipment.
also, so when they're working on something, if it starts raining, they're indoors, so they can keep doing or have some
Right.
shelter under cover is what I meant, yeah.
I know I paid, this was, of course, back in, I think, early 2019. I paid about, I think, maybe $20,000 for an 18 by 20 something garage, 18 by 22 or something garage, but it's just a metal, just metal framing and corrugated metal sides and corrugated metal roof. So that was $20,000 back in 2019. I imagine costs have gone up
They're
just
actually-
for a garage.
They're fairly reasonably priced.
Are they now?
Yeah.
And are any of the high schools around here or colleges that are training people, do they ever get involved in projects like this?
Oh, yeah.
Typically, when you buy one of those kinds of buildings, you buy a kit and they come and they install it. It's included in the price.
Yeah. But I meant we could also, with the other things that we're looking at, see if there's a shop teacher at the high school that would like to take that on.
I have been in areas where they've done that.
Mhm.
High school actually builds the structure to your specs as a project, and then it's transported and set up on the lot.
Yeah.
And at the very least, maybe maybe a pergola, right? If not the building, a pergola.
Pergola. So those are all considerations for everybody to think about.
Well, and it did need to have plumbing.
In not knowing where it might go and knowing that it is important that we move with all pace in this. I did reach out to the golf course folks because we did have field management and I mean, that area is perfect. It blends in field management, golf course management. They're going to reach out to the owners. The owners were confused as to why we moved out of there in the first place. it seems that Mr. Fuselier never owned that property. They thought we moved out because Mr. Fuselier owned the trailer. And that's why we were rejected. But he did not own the trailer at all. So that seems to be again, all in why we're here. He said that he would check to see if the owner would be amenable to us moving back there for a short period of time in a transition period. Or
A
if we
longer
could work
term.
something
Yeah.
out long term.
Yeah, I mean, if
Because
we
that
could,
would be an ideal location.
Yeah.
The water, the sewer, everything is electric, everything is right there, ready to just go back and.
the only problem is even if we move the trailer there, we still don't have a garage for vehicles. We still only have.
Right, we still have the containers that are
Right,
keeping it.
exactly.
But again, we could look at something
Right.
there, but I'll see what if they're amenable at all, what could be worked out. and
Okay,
what we
that would certainly be easier and
Yes,
quicker.
It would. Okay, any other comments or questions on the work towards moving that field services? No. Okay. Back over to you. Okay, there is.
Well, there is a couple of things.
There's a discussion of the deed of dedication. That wasn't just here, but I did want to report that I found another deed of the mystery missing deeds. And this is quite a long
easement,
roadway easement that cuts down. It's the back 30 feet of what used to be
Central Bark.
And then it cuts down all the way through to 192. So we're working with the county to get that enshrined in the proper days. And work with them on that. And again, this does have the same restrictions that all the others. So if we can get Birchwood to release those, this would be released also. So that I just wanted to bring to your all attention and answer any questions if you have them on that post.
No action on our part, I guess we're waiting for the.
No, I'll work with the property appraiser's office. I had reached out to them once. They had initially told me it's been replatted in part of our property. After further discussions with Teresa, we recognize that it is not. So I'll go back to the property appraiser's office and start working with them again to try to make sure that that's rectified.
Yes, just a very small piece of the section that intersects Five Oaks is contained in the phase 3 plat. The remainder of it is in unplatted land, but it is a sectioned off. It would have been sectioned off, considered meets and bounds, and it runs all the way down through that area. So
This is just all mind boggling to me that all this stuff.
is floating out around there.
Right, you know, it's.
You know that I've been pushing about the dog park for some time,
Yeah.
Central Park for months and months. Thank you.
You got a little piece.
Got a little piece.
All righty. Any further questions on district manager's report or for our district manager? Okay,
We are.
then we
late.
move on to the consent
Please.
agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda with the minutes as amended that we received a few days
So
ago.
we received amended minutes by Catherine and Ms. Graham.
Okay. So I have a motion. I have a second. I do want to mention one thing on the invoices. I was concerned that Cervelos, their entire invoice, they invoice us a month ahead of time. That invoice is in there. But my understanding is there is going to be some monies withheld from that invoice. So if we can also add to that or amend the motion to also include any reduction in Cervelos invoices that the district manager has deemed appropriate for withholding for that and the changes in the 2 inches or less of the irrigation lines as appropriate to our contract.
So as amended, so amended, sorry.
There's a second.
Yes.
Accepting. I'll call the question now unless there's any other comments or questions. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All, hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we have nothing under new business, old business, we're back here at the signs, but that's already been discussed. So that is going to be again tabled onto the next meeting to get more appropriate dollar amounts. Again, I would encourage everybody, if you could even put together a little description of what you think might be best to be on those signs, that would be great. The next item under old business is discussion of a donation of a Royal Poinciana tree. And Ms. Castle was going to, or Supervisor Castle was going to look for other locations.
Yes. And before the previous meeting, I had sent out a list of suggested locations, mostly somewhere along Lakeshore Park where it was not going to be close to any sidewalks or any facilities. So it could be messy and it's not going to be in an area where dogs are passing by or children and could pick up seeds that could potentially be poisonous. So there's an area, there's the area by the pavilion, between the pavilion and the entry into the parking lot for Lakeshore Park. Then there's an area between, there's the areas sort of behind, by the bat house is another area. So that would be behind the pond. And then there's a few other kind of wide strips of land in front of the pond where there's a pretty big margin between the sidewalk and the pond that it could go. So any of those locations would have a lot of community visibility.
Without endangering.
Exactly.
That area that you mentioned between that pavilion back near the entrance of Lakeshore Park in that area. Those trees in that area that are going down towards the docks and stuff are kind of waning. I guess they're elms and stuff. They're not looking real healthy. So maybe that would be a good place.
Well, the only thing is there's a bunch of trees right there. And yeah, and I don't know how, I don't know enough about the particular requirements. Is this not like wet feet? Does it like to be kept dry? Does it like a lot of moisture? That's a question. I don't know if you know the answer to that.
This is, like I said, I am a native Floridian person that knows native landscape. This I do not know. Would you, Supervisor Castle, be willing to take on? I would be comfortable turning it over to you to locate it and follow up on it if you would be willing to do that.
Okay. Grows in a variety of soils, once established, highly tolerant of both drought and salt, but it doesn't say moisture. Yeah, my suggestion is really between the pavilion and the entrance, where everybody passing by, they don't have to go into the park to see it. Anybody passing by would see it. So that's what I propose as a place to put the tree, because
is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I have a
Do you know where I'm saying?
Is that by Buck Lake?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that was called
It's the
Lakeshore
right
Park.
side of the entrance to the parking lot in front of Buck Lake.
Okay.
Ms. Castle, what's your motion again? I'm sorry.
I move to approve the acceptance of this Royal Poinciana tree from resident Nancy Snyder with gratitude, and propose to have it planted in between the pavilion east of the entrance to Buck Lake parking lot and the entrance to the parking lot.
That motion.
Supervisor Castle, can I ask also if who's gonna plant the tree?
Can field services help plant the tree? How big is it? What kind of, what size pot is it in?
It will be very easy to plant. It's about maybe 6 feet tall in the pot, and it's not heavy, and it's
like in a 5-gallon pot, or?
Well, maybe a little bit larger.
Oh, so it's already in a pot?
10 or 12.
Yeah, just have to dig a hole.
I've been babysitting it.
Oh. drop it in and cut the pot.
Don't you have a tractor with a?
I don't
Okay.
use. A couple of shovels and a couple of thumbtacks.
Just wanted to be sure who you wanted to plan it. That's all.
Thank you.
Sure.
It is a CDD thing and I don't think
Yeah.
we should, it's not. We don't want to have Cervelo charge us $300 for.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going with it. Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, if there's someone.
Okay, I have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Dane.
Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. The next thing on the part, agenda, I'm sorry, it's getting late. Proposal for removal of concrete pads around the oak tree. This is a pocket park in between Primrose Willow, Beargrass and Schoolhouse. It's a triangular pocket park. We have, I think it's 5 panels that are very much upheaved and are trip and fall hazards. If we remove those 5, the remaining panels, which is the bottom of the semicircle, would still allow for a walkthrough from one side of the park to the other. The proposal originally, I think, was $1,080, but that was for all 9 panels. They said they would prorate it down per the number of panels we choose. So if we're willing to accept that, we can get that corrected in there. So do I have a motion to remove?
I just want to make sure that it's
the
just the
5,
ones.
just the top 5 panels?
Well, you just said bottom, now you're saying top, so.
I'm sorry, the
She went
ones that
and
are
circled
not in
this.
the connecting portions.
Of the sidewalk, yeah.
They're on the far side of the tree from
Yes.
the path that goes from the
From
one
the
side of
The
the,
sidewalk will still go right through.
Yeah.
You're just gonna take out the ones that you
Yeah.
have to walk in a circle to step the go
Right.
on, so.
Right.
So I went over and looked at that one.
Okay,
I use it frequently,
Yeah,
but I
So
don't
do
walk
I-
around the other side of the circle.
do I have a motion
So moved.
to remove the 5 panels that go from,
That are on the west side of the circle around the oak tree in the pocket park between Primrose Willow, Beargrass and Schoolhouse.
5 panels, right?
yes,
5 panels.
Okay, 9.
No, but they're
Right.
gonna prorate it. So is there a price per panel?
120.
So 120 times 5, 600.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to point out, if we don't do it, it's just gonna get worse, because
Yes.
that's a big old oak tree with
And
big
it's
roots.
dangerous.
We're just lucky it's only on the far side.
Mhm.
Yes, I know, I was impressed with that. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
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 Was that an aye?
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Dane.
Ooh, look, the agenda
Hearing
says, we
no
have-
opposition.
the agenda
motion.
says we have 1,975 pages to the agenda.
All righty, any supervisors' requests?
I was, yes, I do. We got a report and it's in the thing, and it's just, resident issues when they call in with
Oh, that
problems.
just came in today.
Right,
Yes.
and there were several that said the trash was overflowing at the dog park. And I can't, are people sabotaging? Because what trash? If I take my dog to the dog park and play with my dog, and I have waste bags, and I put the waste in the waste receptacle, because that's not trash. How can these trash cans be getting full that quickly?
Well, let me tell you that I pass by those trash cans twice a day, every day, like 7 days a week, rain, shine, hurricane. And I have not really seen that that the trash cans or even the doggy pots are overflowing. So I'm not sure what that's
Well,
about.
that's, I'm wondering if someone isn't taking trash over and dumping
It
it.
may be.
And then I'm wondering if they're, well, and then the other thing is, they, several reports that the doggy bags were gone. Now I know we have, what, 83 stations with the doggy bags, and they
We-
fill them every week. So is someone going and stealing them, or?
We do have some problems in some locations, but we can ask field services to come back and give a full report. Sometimes the kids get carried away and they'll take one and run it out.
Oh,
So
okay.
This happens. Some people take more than one, which is typical because they, they're walking, they're not.
Right,
at the
right.
Station.
Yeah, okay. Well, if this happens,
but
it's not something new.
They're
then yeah.
monitoring it and they keep it in good shape and they're real responsive
Mhm.
when we get the complaints. We did have a rash of complaints because remember, Tuesday is a normal day to empty, then we have hurricane on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's possible too.
Right.
But would you like a formal report next meeting on that?
No, now that I see, that's the first time I saw all those. And so if that's something that happens periodically, but if we were starting to get sabotaged, then I was worried
Yes,
because
we-
that's an
we have
expense.
Some problem.
Yeah. Or
Yeah, but they have-
vandalism is the word I wanted, not
They haven't
sabotage.
been severe, like,
Okay.
and like I say, I pass those doggy pots. I mean, there's no trash can by the dog park on 5 Oaks. I don't think there's any trash can there, right? There's no trash can at the new. Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm talking about at the dog park on the new dog park, right? So there's a trash can inside the small dog park and there's one outside, right outside the big dog park. And there's another one as you're coming from Primrose Willow to the dog parks. There's 3 trash cans right there. And I am typically there, like I say, twice a day. I have not seen an issue with overflowing trash.
Sometimes we have a situation where a report's called in or sent in, and it may not be counted, so.
Oh, all
But they
right.
still go out and check it and make sure.
Okay.
So any other supervisors requests for next meeting?
I just like to speak up. Again, apologies for the connection issues. I think we figured it out. It got kind of stable here for the last hour. We have Wi-Fi that's provided by Jones Homes for us to use in the model here. Usually it's been sufficient, but I'll look at ways we can make that a little more secure in the future. With the rest of the board's permission, I'd like to, people have been waiting very patiently. Would like
Yeah.
to the people have been waiting to speak. Have your 3 minutes of addressing the board.
And the one gentleman, I think he thought he spoke, but. he wasn't.
Yeah, Jonathan, you got cut off there. I
He just-
apologize
yeah,
again.
All 3 minutes starting over.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay.
All right, so I'll just kind of kick it off. So I'm Jonathan Sarlo, 3358 Catbrier. Been in the community for 2 years now. Fell in love with the community when we first drove through here, moved from Seattle. Absolutely beautiful community when we first moved in. A lot of concerns right now from my part. And I'll go on the record, I'm an active critic of the way that the community is currently being run. Multiple points of view. I run a $5 billion budget. I'm quite familiar with budgets. I have a procurement organization that spends a lot of money, understand what it goes into it, what it takes. I'm fully qualified to understand what goes into profit margins and understanding what procurements cost and going out and sourcing stuff, right? So when I see things that have gone into the budget, I spend close to $4,000 a year in CDD fees and maintenance fees to live here in Harmony. And I see a lot of that money right now, just quite frankly, going up in smoke. I understand that there's a lot of things that need to be rectified and supported here in the community. I don't think that an excuse should be, and I've heard it multiple times, the sins of the past of what may or may not have been done by previous boards. But we can only control what we control now. But the one thing that I have concerns with is the amount of expense that is being spent right now, especially in times where people are hurting for money. I've participated in a number of these meetings. One of my 3 main items that I think that the board needs to take a look at. I heard Supervisor Joe Phillips, you had made a comment, it's not fair. It's not fair for community members, whether it's the RV lot or if it's easement that's being maintained. Quite frankly, yeah, life's not fair, right? I pay a lot more money to live on a perimeter road. Those that live in interior streets do not pay as much as me in fees. There are benefits to living on a perimeter road rather than living in an interior road. Let's just put that out there for what it is. So I do pay more money. So I have a lot of concerns. Another item that was addressed in the meeting as well. It could go to the HROA, and they can govern what can be done. You could put mulch, you could put turf, you could put rock. What is it going to look like, board members, when I put turf or put rock? My next door neighbor has a different material. The next door neighbor has another material coming into the neighborhood. My family's owned multiple trailer parks. This is not a trailer park. This is a multi-million-dollar, tens of $1 million community. The appearance means a lot to me because of the value of my home. So if we're gonna neglect the streets, especially the perimeter streets, I think the quote was $17,000 or $20,000, and it's not fair that only certain people get the benefit. Again, my quote of the night is, life is not fair, right? And at the end of the day, it's protecting the investment of the community. So I think that we need to ensure that we're keeping that all in mind.
Okay.
The second point is the Cervello guys. I sit out here, I work from home, I have a window right in front of me, and they've now started blowing all the debris from the golf course side over onto our side of the road. This is not appropriate. I've told them multiple times, knock it off. If the board is going to insist that owners maintain this easement area, it's unacceptable.
Okay, yep, thank you. That, was several minutes, we hear all that.
Well, it needs to be addressed.
Yes.
And again, I have
appreciate
not
that.
seen it. I have not seen anything that's been addressed.
Okay.
So I've waited patiently, and I'm going to continue to voice my concerns,
Yes,
whether it be in this meeting or Facebook or wherever, about the lack of
100%.
fiduciary responsibility by this board.
Yep. Okay, I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it. And I agree. It's a thankless job. Believe me. I appreciate you guys sitting in those seats. It's a hot seat. But there's some amount of responsibility that comes with running a multi-million-dollar budget and the lack of control. When we talk about rising costs, poop bags, I mean, quite frankly, we're making gross assumptions that
we have other people that would like to talk.
People are sabotaging the community by throwing trash in receptacles.
Mr. Solo, you've had more than,
If you don't stop
we've
talking.
had more than 3 minutes in respect for everyone that's here.
I listened to you for
and
2 hours and nothing's come out of this meeting. So there you
is
go.
there anyone else that would like to speak on the Zoom meeting, please? Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the Zoom call?
How many certified pool operators we currently have on staff inside Harmony? Underneath the previous years, we had at least 2, and I think we have 0 now.
Sorry, certified what?
We have a certified pool operator under contract with Infomark who is paying their fee. We have only had in the past 1, although we were led to believe we had 2 when we verified that individual did not have their certified pool operator's license.
So we've had a certified pool operator that's been unable to fix the splash pad, diagnose the main pool, or anything else.
If you want to provide more comments, you're welcome to start for 2 minutes, but this is not a back and forth.
And of course, we're happy to meet with you individually, or you can contact the district manager about that issue.
I apologize, we were disconnected. Those, each of those issues were updated by field services. We understand the heater is up and running. We're working on the splash pad, we're fixing things as fast as we were able here.
We even offered to fly up and bring it.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have any other comments?
Or anybody else on the Zoom call, we'd be happy to give you a fair shake at leaving your comments.
This is Jacqueline Meek. I'm at 6848 Sundrop Street. I was listening to the part about the tree donation. Was it mentioned that this tree can be poisonous to dogs and other animals? And why is that acceptable to be planted in a community that is very animal forward and friendly? And we have many dogs living in the community.
Original, well, this is not, but back and forth, but I will say that originally the tree was proposed to be planted in a much more accessible area. And now we're looking to accept this tree and plant it in a much less trafficked area. So
Also, has it been looked into whether it is an invasive species of a tree?
yes, it has been looked into.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing no further, I do have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for dialing in.
Thank you for being here, staying here. Appreciate your comments.
Take care, Dave.
Joe, thanks. Have a good evening, everybody.
Have a good night.
So I can't comment anymore on